this thing starts recording. Okay. So that's the key thing with asset-based lending is that they are out there and they're out there everywhere. If you go to Facebook and any of the investor groups and say, anybody need DSCR, fix and flip, fix to rent, or gap lending, you will be buried in leads for that. So that's pretty much what we loan to. We loan fix and flip, which is just what it sounds like. You're buying it to fix it, and those are usually 90% purchase, 100% rehab, all paid by the lender. Rare cases, rare cases, it's 100% on the purchase, but usually it's 90. Fix and rent, same thing. 90 on the purchase, 100 on the rehab. So you get a $100,000 purchase. You're bringing 10,000. You're actually bringing closer to 20 because there's expenses, but whatever. Maybe you're bringing 15, but whatever. You're bringing 10, 15,000. They're bringing the rest, and they're bringing all the money for closing, for fixing, all the repair costs. You will have to front the repair costs. I mean, the borrower will. So the lender doesn't say, "Oh, great, you just bought a house. Let me give you $10,000 to get started." No. At closing, the lender will say, "Great, when you get your first milestone achieved and you've paid your contractor, because most contractors won't wait, give us a call. We'll come out, we'll inspect, and we'll reimburse the money." So your flipper is going to put like 10 grand up. The contractor is going to spend the 10 grand. The flipper is going to get the inspection that says that the 10 grand of work was completed. The banks can give their first 10 grand, basically covering flipper's 10 grand. So they can't, even though it's 100%, it sounds like, oh, it's 100%, that's great. It is great, it's wonderful, but they can't go into it totally zero money unless they're really experienced. And we care about, in all of these loans, we care about the property and the valuations about that. And we care about the borrower, and really less about the borrower, but we do care about the borrower. We care about, number one, they have to have a 650 credit score typically, or the 51% person in their company has to have a 650 credit score. Come on. And they also have to have experience. The more experience, the lower your rates. And normally we're asking them to fill in.
Okay, let's back. Wait a second here. To make sure I understand. I'm looking for somebody that has money to buy something to fix and flip, and enough money to do step one, and then we will reimburse the step one.
Don't ask those questions yet. Your first question to them, your only real question is, are you looking to borrow money for a real estate investment project? So there's two. So we do offer, like we were talking about for you, we do offer business unsecured lines of credit, 0% credit cards based on your personal credit. That's, fill out a form, the company decides yes or no, they move forward. So there doesn't need to be any real estate there. Everything else we do is real estate related. Hey, listen, are you looking to invest in real estate as an investor? Not your primary residence, not your secondary residence, as an investor. And are you looking to borrow money to do that? If they say yes, then you go and ask, that's when we get to further questions. The further questions boil down to, a lot of times, what kind of deal are you looking for? Are you looking for a fix and flip loan? Are you looking for a rental loan? Are you looking for something else? Fix and flip, fix to rent. They want gap money, they want bridge money, they want transactional lending. Once we know they're talking real estate transactions, then we get deeper into the questions. Transactional lending is the other island, it's the other kind of orphan in the equation, because that's where they're a wholesaler and they've got a seller on the hook, they've got a buyer on the hook, but for whatever reason they have to double close it. They have to buy the first one to sell the second one. They actually have to close it in their own name and then resell it to the buyer. That's a separate island, and when those come up, I'll walk you through them because they're not as common or as standard. So don't go get too confused. If they say they want transactional lending, we can help, but don't go too deep on that one because that's handled a lot differently. What is anything else? Everything else real estate related. Buy and hold, fix and flip, fix to rent, gap money, bridge money. We're going to want to know everything about, and the selling point on this, before we get to what we want to know, the selling point on this is that we don't ask for tax returns. We don't ask for blood samples. We don't ask for deep credits, a soft pull, not a hard pull. So it's really a very easy loan to get. If the deal makes sense, it's an asset-based lending, meaning the lender is 90% looking at the asset, the property, and 10% they're looking at the person. So it's much easier. It's much easier than the other than the other challenge, than going to a bank and going whatever. So that's the sales pitch. So we do DSCR, asset-based lending, fix and flip, fix to rent, bridge loans. So if they're an investor in real estate doing a real estate deal and they want to borrow money, we can probably help them. Now, once we get into what they need to provide, this is one of the samples that they probably are going to need to provide us, which is a list of what they own or are in control of. So real simple. And, I'll walk you through this. When you get somebody, I'll walk you through this. But we want to know that they have something else that they own. We then want to know, we have questions for them. Who owns it? What are the partners? Purchase or refinance, asset type, how many flips, how many rentals. We've got a questionnaire for this. No problem. Tell us who you are. And then for a fix it for hold, buy and hold, it's this one, something like this one, where they're telling us how many units, how many square feet, what the purchase price is. They're telling us what the income expenses are on the property. If it's a fix and flip, fix to rent, then it's a slightly different collection of questions. It's a different form that asks about, property information. Give me the appraisals. Give me the scope of work. Give me the contractor's information. Give me the quote from the contractors. Give me the da-da-da-da-da. So all of this is fairly simple question sets. And really, once we fill these in and get them over, so the unsecured business lending is easy. They fill out the form and we never hear about it again. We either get a check or we don't, because the unsecured lending company takes care of the rest. They're very easy to deal with. We're only making $500 on those. We're not making a lot of money, but we've had to spend about 15 minutes with a guy, so it really doesn't matter. These aren't difficult, so we're going to send. So when we get these in, and I have a form for these, but when we get these in, the most amount of work we might have to do is translate this information into the specific form for a specific lender. this is the form for the lender I usually use. But if Joe can't do it, or we want to see if somebody else can do better, we would take this information. You would take this information. When I say we, I mean you. You would take this information, but I'd say, okay, well, it's better to go this one. This one belongs with Scott's company. I can't think of the name of it, but whatever. It's okay. Well, here's Scott's form. Same questions, different form. So that's where that is. Then you send it off to the lender, or you send it through me. You send it to me, I send it to the lender. And then the lender will say, hey, we need more information. Or they'll say, hey, here's a term sheet. Usually they say, hey, here's a term sheet. We need more information. So a term sheet is a lender's first view of this, and they look at this and they run it through their little sizer machine, and the sizer machine spits out, if this deal were to happen, these are the terms we would do it under. And they'll send that back to me and I to you and whatever, and they'll say, hey, this deal looks pretty good. Here are the terms. If the borrower seems to like our terms, here are the other things we need you to collect. And go from there. Some of them have online portals. Some of them it's done by email, whatever, but it's done there. And so it's not a lot of work. I mean, it's a little bit of paper pushing, but it's not a lot of work because the borrower wants to borrow the money. The lender wants to lend the money. So you got two people that are interested in accomplishing the same damn thing,
Right.
exchanging money. That's what makes it easier. What makes it harder is then once this little back and forth is done and everybody has their documents, you then become, we become, but you become a transaction coordinator, which is watching the emails to say, hey, lender ran into a further question and has a question. Title, appraiser, you're basically a training conductor at that point. But all the heavy lifting, we're not doing any heavy lifting. We're not calculating crap. We're filling in boxes. And we're advising the borrower a little bit on, hey, now here's where you run into challenges. If the borrower's like, well, my credit kind of sucks. Well, there are lenders that will take that deal. They won't take it at 7%, 8%, 9%. They'll take it at 12, 14, 15. If you want to avoid that, then we talk to them about who their credit partner should be, who their partner on the loan should be. And that's a conversation. Again, none of this is you're out there on your own.
Right.
So go ahead and ask the questions on sort of the basic stuff before I go in too deep.
Okay, so have you had a chance to look at that magazine that I sent you?
I have not actually. I will have to see. I planned. I will go home tonight and make a point because I have forgotten to. I'll be honest with you. I have forgotten to check and see if exactly what Kelly did with that mail. So let me go do that when I get home, and I'll either call you tonight or I'll call you in the morning. If I can't find it, we'll figure it out. But
yeah,
I have not yet because I've been traveling so much.
That will give me some idea where to start if on your feedback on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I did look into the magazine name and I kind of looked it up online and whatever. I mean, I think that's a great audience. And it's a Mennonite category, right?
Mostly, yes.
Yeah. And
but
so basically,
it's not restricted to Mennonites, but it's set up for Mennonites, but it's not restricted to Mennonites.
Right. Okay. And basically, so what we would do is we would design a very simple, ad, especially if your push is only to lending. And, it could be very graphical. I mean, you probably make it some sort of picture to make it a little more interesting, but, it could be as easy as a house made of dollar signs or whatever. And basically it's fix and flip. It's fix and flip / rent because you don't want to take too much, magazine ads are all about biggest print you can fit in them. You want to talk about fix and flip, DSCR. transactional, unsecured lines. I wouldn't even mention the bridge. I mean, you might put down bridge slash gap, but that's kind of a subcategory. Or you could just say unsecured lines of credit and real estate loans. Boom. You keep it real simple. And so I mean, I definitely think just to be clear, I think that we should get in that magazine for the next issue. I think you said it was September.
Yeah, and it would be by like the 13th to the 15th of August would be the deadline.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we should. I think it's definitely worth doing. Absolutely, and I think that the ad is so. Yes, I'll look at it, but we don't need to wait for me to look at it. I definitely think it's worth doing, and the same thing for anytime we can affordably get into a magazine, a publication, or you can start doing things like help a reporter out, or any kind of podcast or promotions, or anytime we can get any kind of promotion is great. You can join Facebook or other online communities, and just put in there, we offer lending or whatever. I know you're less online than offline. So you go to the local real estate investor association. If there isn't one, I'll help you start one. A meetup. I'd be very shocked if Reading doesn't have one, but they might.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, if you're really excited to start one, I can help you do that anyway. But basically, the beautiful, So pretty much, in any in-person, like you mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce, great audience. You mentioned anytime you can get in front of a group of investors or a group of people that are probably investors, like many religions don't allow this, but if your religion allows advertising in the weekly church bulletin, depending on who's in your church, that may not be a horrible plan. St. Patrick's Day parades. I mean, whatever kind of promotional you can do. But I wouldn't spend. I mean, the parades are fun, and I've done a couple of them. But I wouldn't necessarily like, oh, this is where I want to be, because lots of business people are watching parades. Well, kind of, but lots of everybody's watching a parade. So, like, if there was an opportunity to be, this is where the Little League T-shirts are, and understand these are never ever about making money. These are about making your name recognizable. So when you approach them, you want to be in front of business groups. You want to be talking to, any kind of opportunity where there's a bunch of business people getting together, basically. And you want to be sort of in that world. You also could probably talk to real estate agents and brokers of investment commercial property, not your Sally sells, seashores. That's not who you want to talk to. You want to talk to the ones that are facing, and typically, like, we aren't typically lending to the high-rise owner. We're typically lending to the double, triple, quad, 5, 10 unit owner. High-rise owner, number one, he's at a whole different ballgame than most of our lenders are. And number two, he's too sophisticated. He doesn't really need us.
Right.
There's a different type of lender he needs. So basically, that's so anytime you can get into anything, it's worth doing. So I'll look at the magazine, and what I need to know from you is, and I forgot to ask this, is like what size ad, what shape ad, because I can help you with the design of it.
Well, I'm going to have a half-page ad in the next magazine for my business of selling handicap accessories, things like that.
Right. Okay.
But I'm thinking like an 1/8 page ad for the lending. I don't need any pictures. I just, what it is that we do.
Yeah, it should stay very, very, very simple. You don't need, we're not needing to appeal to people with giant French fries. That's not, our people don't need that. The people who are looking for what we have to offer already know they want it, basically. Um,
Okay, I know I sound stupid here, but you're not you're not lending money or brokering money to buy a business. You're just interested in lending for the property that the business sits on.
there are companies we work with that do buy a business loans. I don't have a lot of experience there. If someone comes with one of those, gather some basic info on what the business is and let me put it out to some people and see if anyone.
And
Um,
I think that's more what I'll get into in this magazine.
okay, so then before we do it, let me kind of reach out and see, because the problem is, I'm not saying it's a problem. The question is, are there non QM lenders? Because we can't be compensated. There's certain categories called qualified money. I forget the end. I think it's qualified money, but whatever. Qualified means licensed. We're not licensed, so let me ask around to see if there are non QM lenders that do the non real estate space that we can work with. I think I know of one or two, but I almost never come across that. Um, and so if I'm glad you're looking at that, because if we find out that's a no, then the magazine may or may not be a good investment, because if we don't have the audience to work it toward, and the brokers in that qualified space can't pay us, it's a
See, I see
violation of their license to pay us.
there are multiple ads where there will be a bigger company looking for smaller companies to carry their line.
Right. And the questions for those ads would be, and if you want to reach out, we can do that. We can do that. They have to be willing to pay a non-licensed company, because I'm not a mortgage broker, and I don't really want to go and do all that licensing that goes with that. So I'll do some reaching out, and if you want to as well, feel free. But that's going to be the question, because if they're in an industry that's regulated and requires licensing, then they can't pay us. Like, to be perfectly honest, as a licensed broker in Pennsylvania, I would be very cautious paying anyone who's unlicensed for a real estate transaction. I can pay you as a consultant. I can pay you as a lot of things, but I can't necessarily pay you, except in certain circumstances, for, hey, Len, help me sell this property.
And
So
again, what I'm talking about is not the property. The okay, there's a bigger company is looking for smaller companies throughout the country that, do you want to carry our line of products?
yes, I understand.
Okay.
The way that's being phrased, do you want to carry our line,
Yes.
is a licensed insurance agent has Erie, and they also have Farmers. They're carrying the line of Farmers products because they're already a licensed agency. The question is, and that's what I'm looking into now, but and we'll need to look into over the next 2 days, is, are they able to pay someone that does not carry a mortgage license? If yes, we play ball. If no, you may decide to, and I can certainly be part of the equation with you, but I don't have an interest in getting a mortgage license.
Oh no, definitely not.
So if they can only pay a licensed broker, we're not in. So basically, I need to research and see if there are any companies in the non-real estate space that do this sort of off-market, white label, unlicensed scenario. If they do, great. If they don't, then that's a category we're going to have to put more thought into whether it's worth getting into. Because here's the problem in lending, in any of it, and this is truthfully where there's a version at which lending is like everything. It's a commodity, like real estate. It's a commodity. One of the challenges is they don't decide. Okay, do they decide based on whether or not they like you? Yes, but they can love you to death. But if you're going to charge them 1% higher than the person selling a loan that they don't like, which one are they going to do? Go with the guy they like and pay 1% more for the next 30 years, or so where lending is competitive, not in terms of how many people want lending, but lending is competitive in terms of two other things. Are our terms that we offer them competitive against whoever else they're talking to? And are they and their property or their situation, if it's a business, going to get qualified? Now, I am saying with certainty that I have companies in this field that can pay us on business lending. In fact, I'm considering investing in one of them. But he charges strong numbers. He charges 14, 15% to the borrower. Sometimes actually a lot higher than that, depending on their situation. So yes, we have lenders without real estate backing that will do the deal and will pay us. That's also where the unsecured lines of credit come from as well. I just want to make sure that before we post the ad, we can build the ad because we'll need it anyway. Before we post the ad, I want to make sure we have enough suppliers to, or that we found the right suppliers in that area. Right now, I have 3 companies that do non-real estate backed.
Well, I'm thinking there might be real estate backing. It's just not for real estate that they would borrow.
We don't really care to a certain extent, we don't care what they use the property for. Our lenders want to know that the collateral being offered, right? Okay, so our real estate lenders want to know that the collateral being offered is real estate and that the loan being drawn makes sense against the real estate. For example, if the real estate is worth $1 million, but they already hold $950,000 in lending against it, we're not adding to that pile.
Right.
Or they run a plumbing company, they own the building it's in, but they don't want to put the plumbing building up for sale, up for auction, or for collateral. Then the people who want real estate collateral may not want to make that loan. If they secure a loan against their property for $1 million, the lender many lenders probably don't care what they use the money for. And that's a lender by lender decision and a case by case decision. I had one lender say to me, he's like, "Gee, you can buy hookers and coke if you want, but as long as you're paying our loan back." Probably a little bit too blunt, but basically, they don't. A lot of the lenders don't care where the money goes. Some of them do. I have had lenders say, "Wait a second, you borrowed money on 108 Main Street and you put the money into 224 Main Street. That wasn't what we discussed." I said, "Well, kind of, why does it matter?" And in the end, they didn't care when I, laid it out for them. Yeah, so like, I mean, at this point right now, except for just verifying that I have the lenders lined up, um, at this point, besides knowing that I have the lenders lined up that can pay, um, okay, and I did just message a couple people, and yes, I have plenty of partners that can handle this. So yes, we can do that. We can do that in the magazine. I just wanted to make sure I had. I just wanted to make sure I had the connections, and I do. I just had to check my list. I just had to check with somebody. But yeah, so we can run the ad, and whether it's real estate backed or it's not, we can do it. And surprisingly enough, this is one I did not expect: is SBA loans. We can actually make money off those as well. So basically, short version is yes.
That's very encouraging.
Yeah. So and obviously, here's where, and just so you know, like the easy part is, hey, I want to borrow money. The easy part is, let me tell you about my business and fill out my forms. Then it becomes the competition. Do we like, meaning our lender, does our lender like them and their situation and their deal? Do they like what we offer? That's where the competition comes in. And then, of course, most importantly, once you get past the who likes each other, will the deal actually get past the underwriters? Like, I'm sitting in a property right now where my primary DSCR lender, his underwriter wouldn't do it, because within a half mile of where I'm sitting, there's dirt roads, and they consider rural, if you're within a half mile of dirt road, they don't do rural. So I switched to a different lender. I get the deal done, whatever. But the point is, that's where the I guess the rubber meets the road on this one. That's where deals kind of fall apart. Is do they like our offering? Do we like their offering? And then finally, does the underwriter like everything they see? Those are really the questions. But I mean, that's true of anything. Kind of like in any kind of a sales business, real estate or otherwise. Do they like? Does it come out the other end? It can go in the front end of the machine, but does it come out the other end of the machine? That depends. But then again, if you're making 1% to 2% on $100,000 loan, so let's say we're taking home $1,000 and we're splitting it, it's $500 each. Well, if we're only into it for 5 hours, it's not a horrible plan.
Yeah, and I'm not turned off by that, and I'll just keep on running more through the mill till we score some.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it has to be. If we just keep pushing through, and and it's a numbers game. That's literally all it is. It's literally, how many deals can you push through? So yeah, and then that's why Joe Scarice, who's my primary DSCR lender, he probably writes 100 term sheets a week. Well, that doesn't mean he's getting 100 closings a week. It's going to wash out somewhere. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much the deal.
Like I said, the deadline for the magazine is somewhere the 13th to the 15th of every month, which is the same time I'm going to be in Philadelphia Civic Center, whatever the hell it's called, I don't remember, that weekend, trying to sell my beds. So I'd like to have an ad, a stand-up ad, whatever the hell they're called, with 20 words on it that we can broker money. So
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
gonna,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna promote it.
We
It'll
can
just
put the ad together in a couple days. That won't be hard. That part will be very easy. You know, put. I mean, the physical design of the ad that takes an hour.
and it only takes a day to manufacture.
Yeah, and then for your desktop scenario down at the show, you're probably looking at maybe getting one of those, not brochure holders. Probably is printing out some business cards or something similar, and get one of those plastic things that you slip the piece of paper into. That says, we offer lending and whatever the bullet points are or whatever. And that's probably a good place for a full color, nicely designed printout. Yeah, that's pretty much where that would go from there. I'm trying to open something else up here and it's not opening. That's weird.
And I have something else to tell you.
Okay.
I pick up more sound from your chair than I do from your voice.
Yeah, I'm actually discovering that okay, so yeah, the chair is a problem. I need to solve the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta do some WD-40 playing or do something with this chair because I had never experienced it being so loud before. But yeah, so
yes, and that there is no constructive criticism, but that's just constructive criticism.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm anytime you hear something like that, I mean, now is the microphone picking me up well, or is the microphone not picking up good?
No, I hear you, except that the chair drowns you out.
Yeah, which that seems to be a problem. I'm just going back to see what which mic it's using. So it's using the Insta, so it's using the right mic. Okay, fine. All right, so that's basically it. And Nair, I know this is probably a lot on lending for you to work with Jordan on as well. And the beautiful thing, so Lynn, this is a quick side story. Nair and I are doing a mobile home park in Oklahoma transaction, and discovered in the worst possible way, that would be a letter from the state, that it's not exactly cool to do that in Oklahoma. So I'm dealing with the state question on that. The beautiful thing on the lending package is we don't have the same risk because we're turning it over to the lender, and then most of these are national lenders. And if the lender comes back and says, I don't do that state, okay, no harm, no foul. We didn't really do anything wrong. Now, before we advertise in a publication, before we advertise in a state we don't understand, like I will run this by my lender and make sure running this ad's okay. But that's the distinction between real estate transactions and this is this is why we're not doing certain types of loans. We are doing what's called white label marketing for existing hedge fund private lenders. So that's kind of that deal, basically. All right, that's all I got.
And that's all I got too.
All right, I guess we'll see you. Well, I'm sure we'll talk before that. We'll see you next Monday.
All right, great. Thank you, Steve. I'll talk to you later.